Hello and welcome to Design Chat, the best live design discussion on the internet. I'm your host, Ryan McGovern. On Twitter, I'm at Hoopajube and at Design Chat. Every week we get together, we bring some of the coolest people around the design world to you guys, to the design chatters, to the design world, the people who love to consume design and live it every day. This week, we've got a very special guest, the data superhero himself, Nicholas Felton. Golf clap. Thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cheers, cheers. What is going on, Mr. Nicholas Felton? You are a busy man, and I can't wait to start talking to you about all the cool things that you do. But really quick, I'm changing something in the chat room. All right, good. Okay, we're good to go, man. So you are in
Great.
New York, yes?
Yeah, on Broadway.
Awesome. Broadway. One of the things we always do, usually when we kick this off, for any of the people who are here watching this show, why don't you explain a little bit about who you are, what you do, and why you do it?
Sure. Once again, my name is Nicholas Felton. I design by the name Feltron. It's sort of a nickname, pseudonym that I was given that causes plenty of media confusion, but at this point, I just sort of have, like you said, being a superhero, you have to have two identities. So I have Felton and Feltron, and I pretty much specialize in data visualization at this point. So making charts and graphs and maps for people like magazines or websites or corporations that want something exciting generated from data. And it's pretty interesting. It's one of my favorite things to do. And it all started with an annual report that I made that was sort of a personal look at my year that I made about 5 years ago. And it's actually an exciting day because I just got this, which is the first bound copy of the 2009 report.
You just got that today?
Which is all. So yeah, it's been printing for feels like 3 months. It's all letterpressed, and this was my first bound copy with the nice red stitching in it. So I told the bindery to go for it and stitch up all the copies so I can send them out to all the people.
Sweet, it's like show and tell.
Yeah, yeah. And
congratulations.
Yeah, I guess on a daily basis. Thank you. I do my editorial design thing, graphic designing for clients, and then work on Daytum, which is a website that takes this idea of personal annual reporting and sort of democratizes it and gives other people the tools for counting and collecting and communicating pretty much anything they want. So that's exciting as well.
It's extremely exciting, and you know, you're touching on a number of subjects already that are very relevant to the lives of designers today. In that, you know, you're kind of you kicked off a really great thing by producing something that you saw the need for it to be produced. You know, a lot of times we talk now about designers as authors, cultivating their own lives and then creating the things where they see the need for those things to be developed. And it's really interesting to talk to people like you who have reached out, started to make those creations, share them with others, and then your career path starts to sort of, you know, tangent off. You know, whereas, you know, the model from the 1950s is you go to high school, you go to college, you get a job and you stay there for 20 years and, you know, make a career out of it. And it's really cool to talk to the people who are branching off and doing these really interesting things.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I think about a lot, and it was even like a presentation that I had, which was kind of about, you know, turning pro for the second time. So there was the time when I was young and uneducated, and I was a graphic designer, and then I actually got a job doing graphic design. And then there was the time when my hobby, which was doing these little projects on the side, has actually turned into my career. So the annual report was just something I did on a whim, and you know, I think that's one of the beauties of the internet is that I don't know that I thought that there was a need for this or that there was an overwhelming need for the rest of the world to know how many beers I drank in a year, but people were surprisingly interested, and that's what shocked me, and that's why I pursued this, and it's sort of grown to the behemoth that it is today.
How early in your design career or your life, maybe it was a childhood thing, did
Uh,
the idea of organizing data become, something that you were interested in and something that you saw value in?
I think it stems from sort of being, an initial career path I saw for myself was to be a scientist, and so that's always where I've gotten a lot of inspiration from that world, and I find it's sort of its rationality really comforting. And in terms of looking at my own life, and these reports were just an attempt to find content as a designer to work with, and so I'd played with a couple different things, and this like numerical transcription of a year had a lot more visual potential than trying to become a novelist or a nonfiction writer. This was kind of like a bare bone way of getting at content that I could do something with and pictorialize really easily. And it really like soothed that scientific bone in my body that I'm talking about. I find a lot of comfort in knowing these statistical tabulations of what happened over the course of a year. And it's also like um, it's not it's not overly diaristic either. It's not that emotional, which I think sort of fits my personality.
One of the things that I think is very interesting about what you're doing is that the idea of data right now is becoming so important in more lives than it was before, because of the
Yeah.
access we have on the internet and all of these web apps that are available, to share data with, share things with our friends, and organize that data. And there's a lot of exciting things happening around the idea of data itself. Whose is it? Where does it live? How do we access it? How do
Yeah.
we use specific groups of data to benefit our lives and the lives of others? And that's really exciting about your project Datum. If you guys aren't familiar with this, go to datum.com. Not now, later. Uh, and really learn a little bit. Spend some time on it, and figure out what it is and how you can use it as a tool. So why don't you dig into that a little bit, the beginning
Yeah.
of Datum, and then what it exactly is as a tool for users.
Sure. Well, um, like you said, it's this tool where you just set it up and start counting whatever you want, and you're essentially making a database on the site. But the more interesting tools are the ways of visualizing it. So you know, the designers in this room probably need it less than the bulk of the population. But the idea is to create a sort of, I consider it a design fail-safe environment. So you can do anything you want within the site, and like there are a limited number of colors you can choose, and there are just so many different displays. But hopefully everything looks nice in whatever combinations you put them together, and you can start telling these narratives that are the culmination of the data that you collect. So a lot of people, they track their exercise, they track drinking, things that are easy. But a lot of people have also pushed it further. There's a resume on there where someone just decided this would be a great place to turn my resume into a data visualization. There's a couple of dogs that live on there, and their owners keep track of them in both an amusing and a sort of health and quality of life type of way. And like you said earlier, it's it's an era of overwhelming amounts of data, and every single computer in our lives, every time you do something like as simple as using the credit card somewhere or going through a toll booth, there's a record being kept of it, and more people are just being overwhelmed with all this information. And they don't know what to do with it, and so I'm in a great place right now because there are so many people who are looking to designers to bring clarity to this glut of information that they have. I was
Hmm.
shocked the other day to meet the creator of this iPhone app, and all it does is it just like streams out all the information that's being um, it's not being recorded until you use this app, but it's all the thing that's going through the sensors on the iPhone. So I had it on the subway. Like it knows where you are. It knows which way the compass is pointing. It knows the G-forces on it. It knows how loud it is around you. It knows the temperature. All these things are like happening in your pocket, and they're just being discarded unless you're using some sort of application that ties into it. And so um, that's something I've sort of gotten addicted to, is all these stories that are happening around us that just get discarded because they're too routine, and we're not interested in them.
It's kind of interesting because like I want to make a weird comparison. I think data right now is kind of like fire. Um,
Yeah.
it's like fire because it can get completely out of control and it can make people react in an emotional way and fear it. But if you
Hmm.
understand it, you can use it to your benefit, and you know, and many interesting things can happen. And the more we figure out
Sure.
how to use these things, the better our lives are going to become. I just saw this really crazy experiment where this guy wanted to find out if a lava lamp would work under extreme G's. So
I
he
saw
made, I
that.
forget the name of the. You did? What's the name of the device that he
Yeah, it was
created? What's the
great.
name for that?
Uh, I don't know.
It's a device that astronauts use, where basically you're sitting in a chair, and if you saw the movie Spies Like Us, Dan Aykroyd, hilarious. They were put in this thing. You sit in a chair that's at the end of an arm on an axis, and you spin around very quickly. And what this does is it simulates the G forces that you're going to experience when you're on a rocket. Okay, so he made one of these inside his house, attached a lava lamp to it, and then also a mobile device that harnesses all that data that you were just talking about, the G-forces and everything,
Yep.
all of that, and then put a camera on it and then turn this thing on inside of his house. And was just like, he said the lights would dim when it actually started in his house. Like, it's just so crazy to me that people are doing these things in their homes. And it's all because they have access to the data where they can use
Yeah.
it to their advantage. And I think that's brilliant.
What's the era of cheap sensors is what everybody says is what's upon us. So, right now they're cheap enough to be in our phone. These things, they probably didn't have the sort of G-force sensors that we have in our phones when they went to the moon, but we have, 3 of them in there. And it's only going to get more pervasive. They're going to be in our soda cans, in 10 years. So
In our soda
what do you do
cans?
with it?
Really?
Sure. Yeah.
Explain the uses for that. I want to
I
hear
mean,
about that. Why would I need a sensor in my soda can?
well, people are already doing it sort of ad hoc. There are these RFID tags that you can get, the sort of next generation barcodes. And the idea is,
Yeah.
that's used by people to track inventory remotely. But if you're, if you're interested in what you consume, then you start putting it on your food. And when it like comes to your plate or whatnot, or leaves the cupboard, all that stuff gets recorded, and it's all being done ambiently. So the sort of things that people on Daytum are involved in right now is just, it's all hard work. Like, it's all being done manually, but I think it's just the sort of, it only exists in this like short pocket of time before it'll all be done automatically.
Another thing that you've tapped into is this idea that so many people are creating web apps online and different experiences where it's sort of open, right? You create a
Hmm.
tool, and then whatever the community decides to do with it is kind of what that tool is for, and it's open-ended. When you developed this
Yeah.
idea, did you have very specific applications that you wanted it to do, or was it under that sort of vein of here's a tool, do with it what you please?
Totally. That's absolutely the idea. So, even the data it's just a number. It's not coded with anything. Like, it's not gallons, it's not hours, it's not dollars until you decide like that's what your schema is going to be for this application. So it's a little bit overwhelming for a lot of newcomers because they're like, how do I set this up to record my coffee? And the thing is, you can set it up however you want. Like, you just decide what your categories, and if you want to, bundle all your coffee together or split it out by restaurant or split it out by type, it's up to you. So, the dweebs and the geeks like that. And hopefully once people sort of get over that initial, um, reluctance to trying to figure it out, and I think there's a lot to be gained there.
Now, it's something that seems really interesting about this is the possibility for other applications and other devices to tap into this data. Are there currently any connections, any sort of relationships that exist like that?
Well, we're building an API, so that's, essentially puts the plugs on our website, and it's a lot of work, and it's being done in conjunction with the iPhone app for the site as well, so we can test it as we build it, and the API's got enough coverage to handle the iPhone app, and then yeah, that allows people to plug it into whatever services that they would care to plug it into. So if you want your Twitter followers to automatically go to a panel, or your Facebook friends or whatnot, all that stuff is it's API-able, and we leave it to our community to, like you say, figure out what the best use for the site is, and maybe there's something interesting that we haven't even considered that they'll come up with.
I have a very sort of top-level understanding of the whole service and that sort of thing, because it's not something I've delved into. Mm-hmm. But every time I think about it, it's like this shiny toy that I know that once I start playing with it, I'm not going to be able to put it down. And I'm going to try to think of all these different ways that I can incorporate it to my life and other things that I'm doing. So I'm almost scared of it in a sense. It's like that TV show that people are telling you about that is so fantastic and you got to watch it, but as soon as you see an episode, you're sucked into it.
Yep.
And then you got to go find the rest of the season, and then you're renting DVDs. You're not going out with your friends anymore. You're just sitting in a dark room. I know that's going to happen to me. I'm going to be totally obsessed with it. So as we do from time to time, we had a little bit of technical difficulty after the chat. The audio cut out about halfway through. So what I'm going to do is include a little bit of the discussion that we had prior to starting the chat and going live. So I hope you enjoy that. Mr.
Hello.
Felton.
Hi, Ryan.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very, very good. What's going on, man?
Is it working well?
So far, so good. Sometimes we deal with a little bit of a lag, and it can get a little weird, but you're loud and clear, man.
Excellent.
Yeah, I can hear we've got like a 2-second lag. And sometimes it can get worse as it goes on throughout the night, so just kind of be wary of that.
Sure. So how does this work? I see we've got tweets and some chats happening.
Right now we're sort of behind doors and we're not really broadcasting. Right at 8 o'clock is when it goes live and the audience can see it. There's a few people kind of hanging out early right now, which usually happens. Right. And then as we go live and more people tweet about it, the room fills up a little bit more as the chat goes on. So have you done a video chat before? Actually, no, I know you have because I talked to Humble Pie. Spig just had you on, right?
Oh, yeah.
Spigmas.
Did that, and I've sort of teleported to Kate, what's her name? Bingham. Anyway, she's a professor in Portland, and I've been to her class a couple times via Skype.
Really?
But then this weekend I had
is that something they do often?
Yeah, she sort of has like a lecture series where she invites different people from around the country to come in and talk to her class. So I've done that twice now.
So I got to write this down. That sounds really interesting. What does she call it?
Hang on. Let me look for her. Yeah, Kate Bingham and Burt. And she does all the hand-drawn receipts. I'm sure you've seen her stuff.
I'll have to look her up. That sounds so cool. I was we had this discussion a couple months ago.
Yeah.
With who were we talking to? That was Stephen Heller about SVA. And how I asked the question if he thought that because like half of their students are not from the U.S. If he ever thought that he would have a type of situation where he could accept students via video chat, and he said hands down no way, it had never happened. because one of the biggest benefits to having that class is the interaction that everybody gets out of it, and you just can't do it over video chat. But I still think there's hope for video-based teleporting. I
had a terrible experience actually on Saturday where I was supposed to fly to. Yeah, on Saturday I was supposed to be at a conference in Germany, and I was turned around by the volcano, and so myself and a couple other Americans who were supposed to participate, we did it by video, and it was just really disappointing. Like, they asked me to turn off the video at a certain point because the audio was breaking up too much, and you just don't have that like connection or interaction with the audience. Like, I have no idea how it went, and apparently I was breaking up, so it was a little sad.
How unfortunate. So far, so good for you tonight. It looks like it's going to be pretty smooth sailing other than our little lag. And actually, the guys who run Vocal, they like the show a lot, so usually they'll kind of show up in the middle of it. And when they're helping out, usually I don't know how it works or why, what magic it is, or black magic. I don't know, but when they help out, the lag sort of starts to go away. So we'll see if they're available tonight. On the lower right-hand corner, you can probably see modules, questions, and viewers. So in modules is where you've got the Twitter module and the chat module. And so that's where you can see some of the participation from the audience. But the really neat thing about this platform that we're on is that the audience members can ask text questions. And so we will read the question and then accept it. It'll pop up on the screen. Or they can ask video questions. So we can actually, if someone's sitting at home and they're on a laptop that's got a camera, they'll write in a brief description of what they want to talk about. We'll accept it, make sure their video is working okay. Somebody else is doing that in another room. And then they actually come on video and can talk to you, digitally face to face.
Congrats on your 50 episodes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's been quite a ride, and I hope to make it to 100 and plus in the distant future.
Great. Like there's a random funny conversation about CSS and PHP going on in the chat.
Oh, really? It's so I feel like I'm missing such a big segment of what the show is because I never really get to pay attention to the chat. Even when I go back and I edit the video to publish it as a podcast, I never really get to follow along, and it's like I'm bummed that I miss out on those conversations. Oh, one thing to think about. One thing that helps us get around.
Can you incorporate those questions that pop up into the video?
Yeah, we can incorporate the questions, but the ones that they're specifically asking of you, they submit it and we accept, and it comes up to the video. All that stuff, and in the video podcast, all the text chat does show up in that. So anybody who's catching it later can kind of listen to the conversation, see the video, and then also see what's going on in the chat room, which I think is kind of nice. Not many podcasts who have a chat room really do that, and I think it's one thing that they're really missing out on, and hopefully we're a trendsetter in that way. I was starting to say that one way we combat some of the lag is that we can switch cameras. So I can be, if I'm just talking, I can kind of just bring me up like this, da-da-da-da-da. And then when, bam, now your turn. And it's sort of a visual cue for you to know that we can switch back and forth like that, and it kind of helps to avoid confusion when the lag gets really bad. Because we've had it when it's like a 2-minute lag, and it's like just two people staring at each other. And when I went back and edited, I had to edit out all that junk.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
All right, you ready to kick her off?
I'm ready.
Let me check my chat room real quick. And actually, there's not a whole lot of people right here, so right now. So we'll start broadcasting,
Okay.
and then we'll just kind of hang for a minute um, until
Sure.
people start showing up. Hello, audience. Hello, design chatters. Welcome to Design Chat. We're hanging here with Nicholas Felton, and we're gonna hang for a few minutes until some more people start busting into the room and busting the doors down. So if you're in here, go to your Twitter account really quick and tweet out that we're doing the show. I'm gonna do the same actually, um, so we can get some more design chatters in this room. Design chat is go. .info and give the URL designchat.info/chat. And we're talking to, oh, don't shorten that. I hate the shortener on TweetDeck. We're talking to at Feltron, Feltron. And you might have seen earlier in the week, I referred to you as a data superhero.
Yeah. I keep seeing that appearing in different places. It's quite a label to contend with.
Other than what I put up there?
Well, just it being bounced around and retweeted.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Join us. Okay, tweeted. Let the tweets begin. All right. I'm actually waiting for one of my screeners to jump in the chat because when they get in, it's I have to wait for them to get in and then change their role to be a screener because they can't automatically do it themselves.
I see.
But yeah, this is by far one of the slickest like live chat environments that I've seen. It's like really focused
nice.
on the idea that there's a host and a guest, and that you can and that it's going to live on afterwards, and that you've got a lot of control to do crazy things with cameras and
Right.
I think there's even a desktop. You can show your desktop sort of thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, Dan in the chat room says it's dope. Yes, it is dope. I sound so lame when I say that word. I don't think I can say that word and sound cool. It's just not possible. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and kick her off then. Going to do my, white boy. Thanks, Dan. All right. So that's our show with Nicholas Felton. Because the video was cut off where I was thanking him, I would thank him now. Thank you, Nicholas Felton, for coming on and spending time with the design community. You are awesome. We love what you do with Daytum. Everybody check him out on Twitter. He is at Feltron. And check out Daytum, DAYTUM.com. Very cool service. Check back every week. We do live shows, designchat.info/chat. And if you're listening to this or watching this on Mevio, please subscribe to our iTunes podcast. Just go on iTunes and search for Design Chat. And we will see you soon. Thanks a lot.